What is up, guys? It's Vinny. Welcome back to Disclosure Team. The following is a catch-up with Christiaan van Heijst. Christiaan is a 747 cargo pilot, and we broke his story here in November of 2022. Since then, Christiaan has gone on to do lots of different things within the UFO community, including a meeting at the European Parliament as part of the UAP Coalition Netherlands. We also look back at one of Christiaan's sightings that he had. If you enjoy this content, please take a second to hit that like button, subscribe if you don't already. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy this catch up with Christiaan van Heijst. So Christiaan, welcome back to the show. It's been a good year and a half since we first broke your story back in November of 2022. And I think you've been on somewhat of a whirlwind ride when it comes to the UAP subject. So first of all, how's things with you? Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm doing fine. It's unbelievable how fast time is flying, and especially after basically my first UAP interview with you, things have been absolutely crazy in a positive way.
Did you ever expect that that would happen? I mean, I think it was very shortly after our initial interview that you were on Ryan Graves' podcast and Richard Dolan's podcast. Was that a surprise?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, of course, it was kind of a revelation to see it's that the whole topic was becoming more and more mainstream. So I was, of course, as you know, I was kind of hesitant in the beginning to come forward with my experiences, even though my own experiences are kind of mundane. But I felt it was important to at least talk about the topic and make sure that a voice from a civilian pilot is also coming forward. But I never expected this much attention and all the stuff happening in the background, and how serious my conversation or my sightings have been. Regarded by so many people in the field, and that's really something amazing.
Absolutely. And you brought forward in that initial interview some photographs that you took. And what I really enjoyed was that you brought forward photographs that you'd managed to debunk yourself as well, just to show that you weren't just presenting a whole load of images and, you know, kind of leaning on them to be UAP. You were really you thoughtful about the way that you presented it. And one of those photographs though that wasn't kind of debunked was this photograph taken over Spain, I believe it was, that you were having analyzed. I wonder, has there been any kind of progress on that at all?
No progress at all. Unfortunately, the French, I forgot the name of the organization. Anyway, the French guys who were analyzing the image, they said they didn't have any time because they were so overloaded with more important stuff. So they basically stopped the analysis of the image. I'm still hoping that someone else, maybe, or a different organization, is able or willing to start analyzing the image. But I must say all the stuff around it, like all the attention from other organizations, interviews, it's been absolutely mental. And as I told you before, I was busy renovating my house for a whole year, which took a lot of time and energy as well. But I might pick it up and might try and find someone to start analyzing the image again, because I think even though the image is kind of underwhelming, as I'm the first one to admit, it's just a small dot in a huge sky. It's still a genuinely unexplained phenomenon that we saw, and it was something physical in our airspace. So I think it justifies taking it serious enough for maybe a professional analysis one day, sooner or later.
Right then, let's move on to this Spain case, because this was like, one that you really laid out in detail. And we've had it here behind us for the whole time with this very, very small object that you can see here.
A little Easter egg.
A little Easter egg, yeah. And I put out the photograph today on the little article, that sort of companion article I did alongside this interview. And yeah, so let's start. I mean, to everyone, this is gonna just look like a normal sky, and this is the first image that you took, isn't it? I can't even see.
Yeah, it's just literally the raw image as it came from the camera. No editing, nothing.
I mean, that's again, and yeah, when you zoom in, it's not obviously not that clear.
It's so
So
underwhelming. I'm the first to
yeah,
admit it's extremely underwhelming. But the context around it's making the image interesting. And
yes, absolutely.
yeah, so this is the image. This is the Spain image. Let me see. This was January 23rd, 2010. I was still taking pictures with my Nikon D200, which is almost a potato in comparison with my present equipment. I just wished I had better equipment back then, but that's how it is. We were flying with a Boeing 737 from Amsterdam to Malaga in the southern part of Spain. And as you can see, it was just after sunset. The clouds you can see actually on the formation of the clouds, it's all layered. It's very stable weather. There's no thunderstorms. There's not a lot of vertical activity in the sky. There's no CBs or thunderstorms or cumulus clouds, you name it. We entered the Spanish airspace, and the moment we contacted Madrid air traffic control, they control the upper airspace in Spain. The controller cleared us direct to position Crisa, which is just north of Malaga. So, in other words, we were cleared to leave the official airways and just continue in a direct line to the airport of Malaga, which saves us time and fuel, and that makes life much easier. That was also because we were the only airplane in the sky, more or less, especially in those altitudes, because the airspace is cleared, is empty. He could clear us direct to one of those points, and everyone is happy. So it was still about 15 minutes of flying left, if I'm not mistaken, 50 minutes. And we were already about 10 minutes direct course to Malaga when my colleague, my captain, ex-Navy pilot, he suddenly asked me if I see that same little thing in the sky. So I started to look outside, and I saw this little dark object as well. And for about 10 minutes, we were really wondering what we were seeing, because we were flying at 41,000 feet, which is even for commercial traffic quite high.
Yeah.
There is commercial traffic that's flying higher than us, mostly small business jets like Gulfstreams and you name it. But most airliners, most passenger airliners, they fly much lower. And the object we saw, as you can see, it's clearly above the horizon, and it's above us, pretty far above us, and it's within the atmosphere. Objects that are outside of the atmosphere, they will reflect light. So let's say if you see another planet, or you see the ISS or Starlink, they only show up because they reflect the light from either the moon or the sun. So they show up as a bright spot. But if it's within our atmosphere, it will basically block the light. So you will see the shadow side of the object. And this object, as you can clearly see, it's within our atmosphere because you see the shadow side of it.
Yeah.
And it had a really weird shape. This is also the shape as I would see it with the naked eye. Mind you, I wear glasses, so maybe that's why it's a bit blurry. But this is the exact shape as we saw it with the naked eye. So for almost 50 minutes, we were flying straight to Malaga, and this object was smack dead on, far ahead of us, just directly in our line of sight. And it didn't move. It didn't move laterally, left or right of our track. It didn't seem to move towards us or far from it. It didn't move up and down. It was completely and absolutely stable. And since we saw it exactly the same size, same shape, and same position for almost 1 hour straight, from almost the northern part of Spain to almost 20,000 feet in the descent into Malaga, it didn't change at all. So either it was pretty far ahead of us and it was just moving at the same speed, or it must have been a massive object, absolutely fucking massive, really, really, really far ahead of us.
Right.
So we were just contemplating about it and wondering, and I decided to ask the Spanish the Spanish air traffic controller, if there was any traffic ahead of us, because we've never seen such a strange airplane before. And he immediately told me that no, we were the only one, as far as he knew, in the airspace, 40,000 feet or above. And he was wondering what we saw. So I explained to him, we see this object, it's there already for 10 minutes, and it seems to be a pretty big airplane ahead of us. And immediately, and this was really interesting, he immediately asked me to contact the military air traffic controller, the Spanish military air traffic controller, on a dedicated frequency. So my captain, he took over the radio, just a normal air traffic controller, and I took the second VHF radio, and I got a dedicated frequency, and I started calling the military air traffic controller. And this guy was absolutely interested in what we saw. He was not dismissing it. He was not telling me, what you see is a swamp gas or or weather balloon. No, he was absolutely interested in what we saw. So I explained it to him, and he confirmed to me that there was absolutely no civil or military traffic or objects in the sky, no weather balloons, absolutely nothing. And he was really interested in what we saw. And yeah, I've no clue if they did anything with it. I never filed a report. I've no clue what I could do or should do with something like this. But what struck me is that first of all, we saw it for over an hour. It must have been ahead of us, high. It didn't change any lateral or vertical. How do you say this? It didn't change its position from us at all, and it must have been within our atmosphere. Plus, it was confirmed to me by the military and the civil air traffic controller there was absolutely no traffic over Spain. So that leaves me wondering what it is. I never took this picture very serious, I must say. I have it in my database, like all my pictures, and I was thinking about it every once in a while, just hoping to get an explanation for maybe a military test flight or anything funny. Up to the, as I said before, up to the interviews of Commander David Fravor and later on Mr. Elizondo. And I realized that there might be more to this picture than I initially thought, especially because air traffic controller confirmed to us there was no traffic. Long story short, I've asked Mr. Tonio Cousin from IPACO to analyze this image as well. And as we speak, the image is being analyzed and now analyzing also the clouds in the foreground to try and get a distance, how do you say this, distance versus size measurement on the
Right.
object. It might take a while because Mr. Cousin is very busy. He's also working for Gaipan, and they have a couple of really big cases they're working on. By the way, he might be an interesting guest for your show as well, because these guys are very down to earth and they make a living out of analyzing these images professionally. But yeah, he's very interested in this image, and he's now processing it. And the moment the report comes out, I will let you know and see what it is. But yeah, I have no clue what it is. And this one, yeah, I bought an AI image enhancer because sometimes I have some really crappy pictures taken with a potato that I want to enhance, and I decided to basically let the AI do its work on this object as well. So this is not the photo as it came out of the camera. This was just enhanced with a digital image enhancer.
Right.
I just let it run its automatic algorithm, and it came up with this. So this is an image enhancement done by the computer based on AI, and I'm not sure if it's showing the actual object. And I've shown this AI file to Mr. Cousin as well, and he was very interested in this shape and size. It looks like a cigar shape with rounded edges. That's also what we saw with the naked eye. It doesn't look like a contrail. We would look sometimes when there's an aircraft ahead of you, you look in the back of its contrail, and especially if it's a heavy airplane like a triple or a 747, you see the typical two circles dissipating slowly. Well, normally you see them for maybe 2 or 3 minutes if you fly behind them, and then they dissipate or they completely change because the contrails constantly dissipate and grow depending on the air density and not the air density, but the temperature and the saturation of the air. In this case, it was stable, and it doesn't look at all like a contrail we're looking at. So yeah, that's a mystery we we have to find a solution for right now, and I'm really looking forward to the final report from IPACO to see what they come up with. I would love to know what it is. Maybe it's something military, could be. It would be interesting because even from an aeronautical perspective, it would be interesting to see what kind of an airplane or drone or whatever it is might be flying around there at those altitudes. And maybe it's something else. I don't know. It would be interesting to see.
So, we mentioned you did quite a few podcasts after that. It's funny because recently I was out in the US and I was flicking through US TV channels and I found some UFO kind of documentaries and TV series, and I was sitting watching one, and lo and behold, you popped up on it. So, again, it must be so strange that you're getting these requests to be on these shows. I mean, how many have you done now?
I lost track of the amount of interviews, but I think at least 10 or 20. I don't know. Yeah. It's unbelievable, and especially when I saw an email coming in from Ryan Graves, for example. We immediately had a phone call, and he wanted to hear about my observations because he didn't see the interview with you. So the moment I started talking, I realized he was not yet aware of my sighting. So we had a nice conversation, and 10 minutes later, he basically invited me to come over to Boston and do the interview. And yeah, so many other people have contacted me, both for interviews, for television programs, but also people who just wanted to share their own experiences, like professionals, like myself, like pilots, airline pilots. But there were also some other people who've seen things just in their off time, just not aviation related, and they just wanted to share their story, which is kind of yeah, amazing as well, that people basically trust me and share their stories for the first time. So it's been absolutely yeah, quite a ride, to say.
100%, yeah. And you are a 747 civilian cargo pilot. So you mentioned there that other pilots had reached out to you. What have their sightings been like? Have they been very compelling?
A couple of them were very compelling. It was very interesting because I think I've been approached by roughly 10 pilots, both some guys that I know personally and other people that I've never met before, but really wanted to share their story. And most of the sightings are completely different from one another. And some people have reported some, let's say, flickering lights that they couldn't identify. This is actually something that's being reported quite often nowadays. But also, I've been approached by a guy I know already since flight school. He's a buddy of mine. We never talked about these topics at all. We see each other once every 2 years or so. He's also flying the 747 with a different airline, so sometimes we run into each other and we just have a nice chat. And basically, he shared with me his own experience that was really profound and really quite shocking. He even took some pictures. He shared it with me of the, let's say, the UAP, or the thing that was flying next to his airplane. And this was really really quite compelling. Yeah, some other pilots, they have described some let's say, moving lights that moved below their helicopter or airplane. It's just unbelievable how many pilots are actually seeing things and are just unable to share it with the rest of the world. So I think it's quite an honor that people trust me. I don't have a database or something to report it, but then again, I am member of the UAP Coalition Netherlands, and I'm one of the spokespeople for pilots who want to report something. And in that position, it's really interesting to see how many credible observers and credible professionals in aviation, yeah, have seen something. Like, some of them have seen something a couple of years ago, some of them maybe 10, 20 years ago, but most of the time these experiences or these sightings have made quite an impact on these people. And the same for my sightings. For example, I only saw some stuff in the beginning years of my flying career, and nowadays it's kind of mundane, actually. But I still remember those sightings, and I'm still wondering what it could have been. So I noticed that for many people, many professionals like pilots, it's something I won't say shocked them, but it was something that really kept them busy, and still nowadays they're wondering what they've seen, basically.
I think it's just very encouraging that so many individuals have come forward and, because I'm sure there's always been that fear of ridicule and stigma within commercial aviation world as there has been in the military aviation circles. And I think that's just a testament to the times that the stigma truly is kind of dropping when it comes to the UAP UFO subject.
Yeah. It's a good point that you mention. At the same time, I see that people who have experienced something and they have a mild interest in the UAP topic, they've been following your channel or the UAP topic in general. But I think at least the majority of the people, and pilots included, they have no clue about UAP. The whole topic has never been covered in mainstream media, and it's still kind of a fringe topic because basically no newspapers or no big media channels are covering it. So the pilots who are approaching me are basically the guys who are already having an interest in the subject. So I'm really hoping the long term, and this is really a long term wish, I think, that it will be covered by more mainstream media and more people will be introduced to the whole topic in general, and that might actually trigger some more stories coming forward. But as I said, the people that have shared their experiences with me, they've only been interested in the topic because they have their own experiences. So there's still a long way to go, I think.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely a long way to go, but to have such credible individuals as the ones coming forward just adds more weight to the legitimacy of what we're trying to do and get to the bottom of this enigma, let's say. But you mentioned in there the UAP Coalition Netherlands. What can you tell us about that organization and then how you became involved with them?
It was shortly after my interview with Ryan Graves, I believe. I was contacted by Joachim Dekkers. He's the founder and the chairman of the coalition. And well, we chatted a bit about the interview, about my background, etc. And he explained to me that he founded the UAP Coalition Netherlands because he was so shocked to hear that professionals like military pilots, like Commander David Fravor, Ryan Graves, but also professionals like me, have no way to report stuff that they've seen sometimes, and that might actually pose a flight safety risk. And in his own words, he said, "Well, I find it incredible that people who have been trained so extensively to operate those expensive machines are not taken serious." So he was building a platform just to make the UAP topic more approachable, and he has a lot of experience especially outside of aviation, with organizing companies and lobbying, etc. And we basically try to put this topic of the UAP in the how do you say this, in the attention span of some politicians and some other lawmakers. And basically, Joachim, he asked me to become one of the ambassadors for the UAP Coalition Netherlands. We have now, if I'm not mistaken, two pilots, including myself, a psychologist, a media expert, like a freelance journalist, if I'm not mistaken, an army veteran with his own experiences, and yeah, we've also been approached by a lot of people who just wanted to share their own story. So it's becoming like a place where people can share their experiences, either anonymously or in privately, or yeah, meeting up for just a discussion about the topic for people who are really interested in it, and also where we just hope to expand the topic to make it more mainstream and more yeah, accepted, getting rid of the stigma, of course, far as that's possible.
That's fantastic to see such highly respected, incredible professionals coming together with such an organization. I think that's just always a positive. And I think it was earlier this year. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you met with representatives of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management and the Ministry of Defence, and I assume that's all part of the Dutch government. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. It was really interesting to see that they gave us a time span of a time block for almost, I think, 3 hours, and they really listened to us. We basically gave a presentation about our background, what we want, what we had in mind about the UAP topic as well. But the fact that they took so much time for us and they took us really serious was very positive to see, and it also gives me the strong impression that the whole topic, it might not be discussed in the mainstream media, but it is taken serious by some government officials, at least in the Netherlands. But I think this is applicable to other countries as well. So it's really interesting to see that I was able to tell my story. The other pilot with us, he was able to tell his story, and I also noticed with the questions they were asking, because it became like an almost 3 hour conversation, that they were really really well prepared, and it was interesting to see because I can imagine they were just trying to see what kind of people they were dealing with. But the fact that we were invited, as I said, for 3 hours, there were really, really thorough questions. It was very positive. So, as I said, this is just my view from the Netherlands, but I'm pretty sure that this topic is growing in the background for yeah, many other governments as well, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what it would take is, to have a country's politicians or government taking it seriously, and then for other countries to sort of see that and follow suit. It just hopefully will have a knock-on effect or a snowball effect where other people from other countries, especially in that sort of European area, a lot of small countries, uh, you know, could actually start making some waves, especially outside of the US, where obviously the focus globally seems to be UFOs is an American centric thing, when in fact we all know, people in this subject especially, that it's a global phenomenon. So I think that's really encouraging. And so though, that Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management and the Ministry of, was that one meeting with both kind of groups together, sort of laying it all out?
Yeah. There was one big meeting, and they were pretty well organized, and they were pretty well working together. Let's say on the topic. So we gave our mutual presentation to both of them, both of the ministers, and both of them they had really sharp questions and suggestions also for us, or wondering, for example, what we were hoping to achieve, and we had a pretty good, decent answer to that. So it was really really positive to see.
Yeah. Do you think there's any scope for follow-ups with them in the future? Or was it, was there a plan of action sort of set out for anything that might happen further down the line?
Not yet. Not that I know of. Anyway, I haven't heard anything from it. But I think it also has to do with the topic slowly losing momentum right now, and it's been rather quiet also on the other on the other side of the Atlantic. But the fact that they were showing so much interest already, I think it's laying down the foundation. For the moment that the topic become a little bit more mainstream, and then we can start shifting and making other moves to get the topic on the table again. I think, but I'm not completely aware of all the meetings and all the discussions that Joachim has, the founder of the UAP Coalition. But there's a lot of how do you say this? Like we have a lot of contacts here and there, and I think things might move pretty fast if there's some momentum spinning up again.
Yeah, and it sounds like, because it was such a positive meeting, that the door seems to be open. If anything did come up in the future, that it can be kind of picked back up again, which I think, obviously is great as well. But not only did you have that meeting, but again, I think it was this year again that you attended a UAP conference in European Parliament. Now, when people think about UAP conferences, they think about the conferences where everyone goes and listens to speakers, but this isn't that kind of conference, is it? Can you give us some details on that one, please?
Yeah, also organized by the UAP Coalition Netherlands, and we were invited by Francisco Guerrero, if I'm not butchering his name. He was a European Parliament Parliament parliamentarian.
Parliamentarian, yeah.
Yeah, parliamentarian from Portugal, and we had a Zoom meeting with him already before, and he was very interested in the topic. He was interested in what I was. What I've seen and what I've been trying to communicate, and basically he organized a briefing for the EU Parliament, and I was there together with André Jol and some other people, and we gave our official briefing about the whole topic, and that was absolutely fascinating, and that had a huge impact that I never could have seen coming, because not only the fact that the topic was being taken serious by so many politicians, but also the attendees were very interesting people, and I met people from the Soul Foundation and some other people that I've only heard by name, but I finally had the chance to see them myself, and it was just absolutely mind blowing to see again how serious the topic is being taken behind the screens. So that also shows that we're on the right path, I think, by slowly opening up about this topic. In this briefing with the EU in Brussels, I focused mainly on just, of course, my own sightings, and hammering down on the fact that it is a flight safety issue. And there was a representative from EASA there as well, the European Aviation Legislation group. I'm not sure what it exactly stands for, but yeah, they're also now in communication with us about hopefully coming up with, let's say, a reporting point where pilots can just report their sightings without it being lost in endless bureaucracy, or being shifted between all the different countries in the EU. So there has to be a centralized system, and it was very interesting to see, especially afterwards, that there was a very constructive communication about this topic. So again, it showed me that there's a lot of people out there who are pretty interested in the topic, and who don't come forward yet, but it's on the highest levels. It's being taken serious, and that's really fascinating.
That's so huge. I mean, congratulations to your group. To get into the European Parliament and to have this subject briefed to the people, the higher ups, let's say, I think is a huge thing, and that's just fantastic. Again, it shows that the stigma is dropping, and that we have government insiders or government heads of whatever interested in this subject. I think that's just it blows my mind. It really does, that we've come this far. Again, so kudos to the team.
Yeah, I think also that it helps the conversation in the US. For example, I think it was weaponized podcast from
Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp.
yeah, they even mentioned it as well, that this meeting took place in Brussels. And I think if it's being picked up by those figures and those big podcasts in the US, it's a clear signal that it's not just a US phenomena, or not just a US topic. It's really a worldwide global phenomena. And I think it's very important that they mention it as well. That also people in the US start to realize that it's just another Hollywood thing. It's something much different.
I absolutely agree, and obviously you're a very busy man, flying all over the world all the time. Do you follow how closely do you follow the current situation with everything that's going on? Do you listen to podcasts? Like, what's your kind of day-to-day, take on the UFO subject as it stands?
Yeah, I try to listen to all the big podcasts, including yours, of course, and Weaponized, and some other big names. Because I do commute a lot. I don't live close to my home base, so I'm driving for many hours every week up and down the airport. And it gives me a lot of time to listen to the podcasts, at least the major important ones. And yeah, as I said, it's kind of sad to see that the momentum has been lost. But I think it's just a matter of time before it's picking up again. Hopefully, Elisonder's book will start to kick up some dust, because I think that might be very interesting what he's going to reveal and talk about. And I think next year we have a next Soul Foundation conference again, and another Echo conference, and hopefully that will generate or attract some momentum again. So yeah, let's wait and see what's going to happen, and maybe there will be a new guy like David Grush coming forward with actual evidence, maybe, or yeah, you never know. You never know. It might go fast.
Yeah, it might. Yeah. I mean, we always hear rumors, don't we? I mean, even today, the day of recording this, I think I saw something on Twitter that people are talking about. In the next 6 months, we'll have a new face come into this conversation, hopefully with evidence. That would always be great. We don't really just want more stories, but again, we'll see. But you mentioned there the Echo conference in Paris, which we actually got to meet and hang out, and you gave a wonderful presentation. Is that the only conference that you've been to of that type?
Yeah, that was the only one, or the first one, and it was that was really amazing, because I remember that I was being invited for a roundtable discussion, but the email wasn't 100% clear. So just to clarify, I was asking the organization, well, do you guys expect me to give a presentation as well, or is it just a roundtable conversation? And I think 2 days later, I got a reply saying, oh yeah, we found a spot for you for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. You can do a presentation. So that was really cool. Even though I'm the first to admit my sightings were very underwhelming, but the fact that a credible observer, like a pilot like myself, is coming forward and is highlighting the flight safety aspect, that was really worth it, I think. So I was very happy that they invited me, and it was just amazing to meet all these interesting names and people there. And who knows where it's going from here? Because, as I said, I was asked to maybe join the next one as well, or the Soul Foundation for next year, and that will be absolutely amazing. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
I mean, that was the first kind of conference of that caliber that I'd really been to, where it's very scientific focused, very credible professionals there, and to have it held at the Sorbonne University in Paris adds even more weight and credibility to it. And like you said, that panel discussion that you were on, and that I was honored to host, with people like Jacques Vallée as well, and Christopher Mellon there. I mean, that was mind blowing. That was really something, wasn't it? So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and also all the conversations during dinner, or basically after all the officials things. That was really amazing because yeah, I got to speak with quite a lot of people, yeah, including yourself and Chris Mellon, and to discuss this topic with these people that are so knowledgeable and without the pressure of other people listening in or recordings. That was very interesting as well, and it showed me that the topic really deserves a lot of attention because yeah, there's just so much going on, and it was really inspiring to be there.
I agree. I think sometimes the conversations you have in private are really different to what you can have on camera during podcasts and similar things. And it really does kind of show that the subject is moving forward, that things are happening. Even if things slow down to a snail's pace, it's still positive. It's still moving forward. And you know, it's been a while now that it's been going slow. I hope things do progress again soon. What are your thoughts when it comes to, the US government and the hearings that we had last year with David Grush, David Fravor, and Ryan Graves? Do you think that we're likely to see more of them? Do you think that we'll get anything from the US government?
That's difficult to say. I've been following the U.S. politics now for the last couple of weeks and months, and I think it completely depends what's going to happen with the new presidential elections. I have no clue which party might actually be pro-disclosure, because the topic has not been brought up in any discussions, or not in any how do you say this, like presidential discussions or debates, sorry. I think the subject is too sensitive for them to burn their fingers on right now, but it might be very interesting to see what's going to happen if there's a new president sitting there for another 4 years, because I think in the last year before the elections, presidents or the administration will always focus on the new elections, and they will. I think that's one of the reasons that the UAP topic was brushed aside a little bit. So at least from next year on, we have 4 fresh new years, and I'm really really looking forward to some more discussions in the U.S. Political arena. But it also depends, I guess, on maybe new people coming forward, or maybe even whistleblowers coming forward. And I was absolutely surprised to see this hearing with Dave Grush and Ryan Graves, and that was just unprecedented and unbelievably. It was not covered by the mainstream media whatsoever, and this is just really surprising. And I think there's a lot of work to be done. Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. If they have a mandate not to talk about it, or if it's just still too fringe to talk about. I have no clue how it works behind the screen for the big journalists and the big media. But then again, the script might flip just before we know it, and it might become a serious topic again. So yeah, I'm not going to place any bets on it, but I think as from next year on, after the presidential elections are over, finally, we might get some wind in the sails again. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I've been saying exactly the same. I think again, with it being the political election year, sorry, that the UFO subject might have to take a back seat until 2025 when we've got new leadership over in the US. But then anything that does happen between now and 2025 would just be a bonus. And, fingers crossed we do get that sort of bonus. But so going forward, or looking forward, whether it's anything to do with that or to do with work that you're going to be doing, what are you most looking forward to or excited for the future?
I'm really looking forward to the next conferences, like I said, the Seoul Conference and Echo, because I think those events are really important to bring the level-headed, scientifically minded people together and really push the topic forward. Yeah, and I can only hope that there will be more whistleblowers coming forward. And uh, yeah, and as I said, I'm really looking forward to Lou Elizondo's book, Imminent, because having seen so many interviews with him, I think he has a lot of interesting knowledge that he wants to share, and I think this might be the trigger for other people to start asking questions and to look into it. Yeah, so I really hope that a couple of those factors together are pushing the topic forward again. But it's very difficult to say. Because I think for about 6 or 7 months we were looking at a unprecedented attention, or media attention for the UAP topic, with a lot of people coming forward and organizations started, etc. And then all of a sudden it just died out. So it's very difficult to put my fingers on, but I really hope that yeah, you just need one new witness with maybe evidence or whatever, and the whole topic is wide open again. So it's really difficult to predict the future, but that's at least what I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear, and I look forward to seeing anything that you do in the future. And I want to give a quick message to anybody from Europe that is listening or watching this, that, we often see a lot of political activism when it comes to the UAP subject in the US. People, urged to contact their representatives and tell them that they're interested in this subject and that we need the governments to do something and take it seriously. But I would urge people, no matter where you're from in Europe, or in fact anywhere, to contact your representatives in your country and ask them about this subject. Tell them that it's serious. Send them information about what's happening in the US, because I think, we in Europe don't always have to take a back seat to everything that's happening in the US. So bear that in mind. And what I will do as well is pop a link in the description for the UAP Coalition Netherlands, in case anybody wants to do something similar in their country as well. It only takes individuals such as us, civilians, to just do a little bit of work, and you never know what can come from it. So I just want to kind of put a little bit of enthusiasm into people if they want to do something for this subject.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a good point, because the UAP Coalition Netherlands is one of our points is to talk with politicians about these topics, government officials even, and it's just, as I said, from our our startup coalition, there's already so much feedback that we get from politicians, and we're getting the access to meetings, etc. And if people visit the website, the website is also in English, so people can get an idea what to do. And like you said, as an individual, you have power, you have strength to make topics discussable. We just have to make sure that we do it professionally. So, for example, I think the best way to do it is through an organization like Coalition Netherlands, or at least a professional organization, instead of sending angry letters full of cuss words to politicians, because then the whole topic will not be taken serious. But you have to approach it level-headed, really down to earth, pun intended, and I think that's the best way to go. Because, as I said, I've seen personally that some really influential politicians and government officials actually really have some interest in the topic. It's just the way how we approach it that really makes a difference.
It does, yeah. You have to be professional and serious when it comes to it, and allow any frustrations to kind of uh, sit behind what you're actually trying to do. Well, listen, Christiaan, thank you so much for this catch up. I really appreciate it. It's so good to see you again and hear about everything that you've been up to. And again, I look forward to anything that you've got coming up in the future. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Vinny. It was a pleasure.
Anytime, my friend. And everybody, again, watching or listening, thank you so much. Yeah, the show now goes out on Spotify a few days after the YouTube show goes up. But you can also, if you want to hear it early access, you can subscribe via Patreon. And that also helps support the show, because it goes out every week and it isn't free to make. So I appreciate everybody's support as always. But for now, take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.